All right. Welcome to the Language of the Prophets series. We're implementing Aliya, yomi in today's lesson. This is Torah portion Mikeits, the first Aliyah. Two birds with one stone. The first Aliyah can be found in Sefer Bereshit. That's the book of Genesis, chapter 41, verses 1 through 14. And feel free, guys, to type any questions you might have or comments as I'm going through the text here. This is part of our immersion series in the text. So for those of you who are new to this, the best way to learn language, some argue it's deductively for adults, it's just learning grammar. Others argue that it's best by immersion, the way children learn. I can just say, I hope you understand, I'm just saying this from experience. As a polyglot, I can tell you that it's definitely best to use both. So, especially when you're doing a classical language like biblical Hebrew, you want to be in the text, right? Because that's our goal, to read the text. Our goal isn't really to write letters to people in biblical Hebrew, right? Our goal is to read the text with understanding without having to lean on translational biases, right? So you got to get in the text. And this worked for me. I can tell you, when I was doing Greek pretty hardcore, one summer in Italy, I just decided, I'm going to read John like 7 times in Greek, right? So I have my Greek Bible, with no definitions or anything. And I had already done the grammar. I'd studied the grammar and then forgot, and then studied the grammar and then forgot, and then studied and forgot. Like just over the years trying to get into it, learn vocab, etc. That was what was different this time. I got better at keeping the vocab. And then I just went through it. And anytime I'd come across a word I didn't know, I would mark it with a color, and then I would look it up and I'd write that word in the column, right? And I went through until finally the mind just accepted it, right? And you stop thinking in your native language and you're just reading and understanding. And so this is what I want for you in Hebrew, that this will happen for you in Tanachit. So when you have a favorite text or a favorite portion or a favorite psalm or something, it's very useful to go through that over and over and over again in the Hebrew. And it's not cheating that you happen to know that psalm, right, or whatever. It's actually good because you're building confidence, and your mind will later make those connections. And I remember some of you told me even that you were starting to remember connections with things you had memorized or songs in Hebrew that you had memorized, right? That some of those words were presenting themselves. Because what's happening, there's the human element of learning, right? And how our minds work and how memory works, having pegs and all the memory pegs and all these sorts of things. And then there's Ruach HaKodesh. And I truly believe that Ruach HaKodesh helps us in learning the biblical language. It's just, our goal is to serve Him and to understand God more and to know Him better. And so He really will help you with this. And there's no better way than to get in the text. And that's why we're doing the Aliya Yomi series. So for those of you who don't know, on YouTube, if you look for channel Hebrew Literacy, that's my channel. We've been pretty much putting up a video, maybe 1.5 every 2 days, the average, right? Not all Aliyah stuff, sometimes Josh Schultz. I started putting up Psalms. There's a new list out there, guys, the Tehillim, Tehillim time, right? So for those of you who want to look at the Psalms, just don't get scared. The Psalms are much deeper. The grammar is much more difficult. And, we have to get into Ugaritic and Phoenician and some other things sometimes. But just reading the Psalm aloud in the Hebrew can be useful. And I think that everybody can benefit from that if you have the time. Okay, so here we go. Verse Aleph, which of course is 1. Vayhi, Miqeyts, Shonatayim Yamim. Okay, so Yehi, this is an imperfect form. It's hard to recognize because this is a weird verb, Haya. It's a lamed hey verb, and it's a pei hey verb, and it's a hollow verb with the yod in the middle, so there's all kinds of things that happen. So you just have to recognize Yehi means it will be, or it will happen, it will become. But we have our Vav conversive here, so the time changes. So, and it was, or it came to pass, is usually how this gets rendered. Miqeyts, from Kates. Kates means end, right? So from the end of Shonatayim. Shonatayim, well, Shana, what's missing here is that Shana, right? And Shana ends in a hey, so it's kind of hard to see. So Shana would have been a hey, like we say, L'shana haba'a b'Yerushalayim, L'shana haba'a b'Yerushalayim, right? So there's a big hey for you, Dr. Dwayne over in Pennsylvania. No, I wrote it big. So Shana goes back to its ancient Hebrew form. Most of the words that end in hey were once tav. And so when you put an ending on, they go back to that ancient pre-biblical ending. So Shonatayim, the ayim is the dual ending. It means 2, right? So if I take yad, which means hand, and I want to say 2 hands, I say yadayim. I don't say shnei yadim. I say yadayim. The ayim tells me two of a thing. Okay? Einayim, two eyes. Right? Yadayim, raglayim, 2 feet. Right? Etc. So shanatayim means 2 years. So at the end of 2 years, and here's where it gets weird, yamim, days. So what is up with the 2 years of days? Why is it phrased like that? What's really going on here? Well, the issue is that in biblical Hebrew uses this kind of this term of yamim, days. It really means like a fulfillment of time, right? So we see an example, for example, chodesh yamim. You'll see a month of days. The Torah will use that, meaning a complete month. So from this we understand, and the sages chime in also, that this means after a full 2 years' time. The Rashbam, he says that it means precisely 2 full years. And he calls out the example of Leviticus 25, verses 29 to 30, to back that up, to show some examples of that. And he mentions that also with Pesach, we find the mitzvah that you shall shema, you shall keep this and at its moed from shana l'shana. And it goes on to say that it uses the expression to indicate a time period that is a full year. And that's in Exodus 13:10, if you want to look that one up. Technically it says, V'shamarta et ha'chuka hazot, you shall keep this chukah, right, this mitzvah that we don't really know exactly why it's given, the mo'adah, and its appointed time, mi yamim yamima, from days to days. You see, so it's kind of what? It means the full time. It means the complete fullness of the time. Okay? So that's the Rashbam climbing in for some additional. Ibn Ezra, who's always a great guy to look to for grammar stuff, he says that literally this means at the end of 2 complete years. But then he complains, though we've not been informed from when the counting starts. The same is true, he says, for after a time period of 40 years have gone by in 2 Shemuel 15:7, and in another 65 years in Yeshayahu 7:8, and in the 30th year in Ezekiel 1:1. In this case here, where we're looking in the Torah, the beginning of the 2 years probably was the day when the chief cupbearer was released from the prison, or the day when Yosef HaTzadik went into prison. But he still chimes in that days has to do with a completeness of it, right? All right. Ufaro cholem, v'nei omed al ha'yeor. Okay. Why is it an u here in front of the pei? What's happening there? So we know we want to attach a vav, right? And usually when you put the vav at the beginning, you try to put a schwa under it, right? Okay. One of the exceptions is if the letter that precedes it is a begad kafat letter. Pardon me, labial. Labial letter, okay? That is something you make with your labi, right? From Latin meaning lips. So fa is made with your lips, and in that case, you remember our bump rule? Bump. B-U-M-P. B, so if it's a B sound, or if it's an M sound, or a P sound, these are the labial letters. Of course, b can also be f, and p can be f, and b can be v, right? Then we put a u sound in front of it, okay? Bump. So u, fa, o. And Pharaoh, or then Pharaoh, cholem, he dreamed. Vehine, and behold, omed, he was standing al, near, ha-yeor. Yeor, depending what lexicon you have, it might tell you that this means river. But really, specifically, this is the Nile. Yeah. Tet says someone wants to come in. That's fine. They can come in. Yep, feel free to come in. That's fine. As long as you know them, right? Yeah. Of course. Yeah, Daryl can come in. Yeah. He's welcome. Yes. I know Brother Daryl. No problem. He was even in my mind earlier to let him know this was going on, and I spaced it out. So yeah, he must have felt the ruach. Yeah, Baruch haba, Brother Daryl. Yes. Okay. So continuing here. So this is the Nile when it says this. It's not just a river. In later Hebrew, it develops to have the general meaning of Hebrew, but in the Torah, it means the Nile. The Nile. Verse beit. Vehine min hayeor olah sheva parot. Yafot marei uverit basar. Okay, and there's our end of the phrase with our etnachta or etnach. There's different ways to call that. The little wishbone symbol tells you this is the end of the clause. So, and behold, from the river, this is Pharaoh's dream, Olot. This might be hard to recognize. It's a lamed hey verb, right? Make that big for Dr. Dwayne. Big hey. He's in the same organization. He's a Messianic minister over there in Pennsylvania. He's got a nice website, matsati.com. You guys might want to check that out, where he's got literally over a decade worth of his teachings he's been putting up. So this is from Allah, to go up. So this is an active participle, which you guys have not learned yet. But that's what's happening. Olot means going up, coming up. What's coming up? Sheva, 7, parot. So this is from par'ah, right, which is a heifer, right, a heifer, or a cow. 7 cows. This is our noun, right? Our noun is parot, okay? So we need our adjective to follow and agree. So this is feminine, and it's indefinite, and it's plural, right? So here's the adjective. Yafot. This is from yafa, yafa, which means beautiful, beautiful. So yafot, they're plural, they're feminine. The cows are beautiful, whatever that means to be a beautiful cow. I think we're too far separated from this story to get that. Mar'eh. So this is from the verb ra'ah, which is to see. You know this verb, okay? And so this word, we have many nouns that start with a mem, right? So Hebrew morphology isn't always precise, but they start with a mem, and that can either be the agent of the thing, right? So the thing which is seen, right? Or it can be an actor who's doing it, right? So in this case, in appearance, they were beautiful in appearance. Uvriot, and they were plump. Of basar, flesh, right? Batir eina bahu bahu. Okay, so ra is the root here. Actually, it's ra'ah. It's a geminate, and so when you have two ayins, there's a missing ayin. The last one at the end of the word will oftentimes go away. We haven't talked about that yet. That's kind of advanced. So the verb is reish, ayin, ayin. And again, sorry, it's really hard to draw on this touchpad. That's not sadi. That's supposed to be ayin. It's easier in cursive. It looks like this in cursive. You just go for an ayin. Okay? So ra'ah, to be evil, right? But the word evil in Hebrew, it doesn't always mean like evil, right? Oftentimes it has this idea of like bad, right? Not good, right? Like something bad is going to happen. You have the same concept in ancient Egyptian. They have a little bird, oftentimes is used to mean evil, right? And they just mean bad, like the birds would eat the crops, something like that. You can see how it happens. So, vatir eina, and they were tir'eina ba'achu. Oh, achu is very interesting. So, achu this is actually an Egyptian word, and so this is very, very cool. So, achu is from iach in ancient Egyptian. It looks like, let me draw the picture here. Looks like this. It's like a little sheaf, like growing up out of like a sedge. Iach, iach. And sometimes it's written with this thing. Iach. And you can see how the Hebrew borrowed from the Egyptian. Achu, right? Achu. Even the plural form is weird in the Hebrew. It's following what we'd expect in Egyptian. So, ba, among, the, and you can tell it's the because look, we have a comets here, right? So, when you try to say the, we say hey, patach, and then the dagesh, right? Aleph cannot accept the dagesh, so it comes down and he lengthens the patach into a comets. So, among the sedges. Okay. Continue on. Verse Gimel. Oh, and actually this ra'ah, just realized there's a homograph that looks the same as this. So it's probably not being evil. It's probably pasturing, which is actually reish, ayin, hey. Ayin, hey. Yeah. They look the same in this form, so I think I went off and told you the wrong one. It's not this one. It's this one. Reish, ayin, hey. In context, that makes more sense too. They're being evil in the sedges. Okay, Gimel. Vehine שבע פרות אחרות עולות אחריהן מן היאור, באות מראה ודקות בשר. Okay? So vehine, behold, sheva parot, 7 cows, acherot. So acher, you guys know, acher, different ones, but it has to have the ot because it has to agree in gender and in number and in definiteness, right? So feminine, plural, indefinite. Olot, again, from Allah, going up, olot. Note this one is spelled with the full cholam, the vav, and this one is defective up here. Both spellings are allowable. And you might be asking, why is it that this one has the defective cholam spelling and this one doesn't? Well, that's a good question, and I don't know. Usually when you see something like that, that's a good place if you want to dig deep and see. Maybe there's some gematria happening, right? Because the numerical value, when the word is spelled this way, is different than when it's spelled this way. Because you have a consonantal vav that is there, even though they have the same meaning. So 7 other ones were going up, achare, after hen. You remember your pronominal suffixes, guys. You got to have them memorized. Hen, second person, third person, feminine, plural. I was trying to change colors as I did, and I don't multitask so well. 2 more want to come in. They need approval. No, the go-to meeting is set up not to require any kind of approval. You mean just you're asking me. You guys know them, yes? They've had Hebrew before? They've studied some Hebrew? Yeah, I already said Daryl's allowed. Yeah, sure. Let them come in. That's fine. They can come in. Thank you for asking, Ted. Appreciate that. As long as you guys know them, like face to face, you know. Daryl, I know, so that's already fine with me. Okay. Continuing on. Where are we? Oh, yeah, okay. Lata'amul dina aitzel haparot asifat hayor. Okay, so this word, you know the verb, amad. If you can't remember Ahmad, if any of you used to be into basketball in the old days, think of Ahmad Rashad. That's how my rabbi told me about it when I was younger. Or he told the whole class, I remember. Ahmad. Ahmad means to stand, right? And Ahmad Rashad was supposedly some very tall basketball player. I don't watch sports, so I don't know. So this is an imperfect form. Ta'amodna, right? Feminine, plural. Third person, right? Referring to the parot acherot, right? The different cows, other cows. So they were standing. Eitzel haparot. This is facing against the cows. Al sifat hayor. So this word is hard to recognize. It's sifa. And I remember you had this as a vocabulary word, so you should know this word. Sifa means lip. I don't know what that means, waiting for host. I don't have any kind of restrictions on the meeting. It doesn't require a password or anything. Maybe have them reopen the site or something like that. Or maybe they didn't download the app, or I'm not really sure. Sorry. Maybe next time they can try to connect earlier, yeah, so that they won't have those issues. I'm not going to stop the class for that, though. No problem. It's good that you're trying to get more people involved. Yeah, I'm not upset. Just I can't give them technical support right now. But the classroom is open. It's wide open. Yeah, there's no password or anything like that. Okay. So sifa means lip, and we see this metaphorically, kind of like with idiomatically. The sifat hayam is the lip of the sea, right? And that's how you say seashore in Hebrew. It's the lip of the sea, right? Like the sea has a lip. It's cute. So sifat hayaor, in this case, it's the shore of the Nile. As I mentioned, Yaor means Nile. It's not just river. It's specifically that river, the Yaor, which was so important to Egypt. Egypt didn't rely on rainfall. They relied on the inundation of the Nile when the Nile would raise. And it was so predictable that the Nile would raise that they had all these canals that were dug that would go all over the country to water their crops and to irrigate these irrigation systems. And the tax system in Egypt was actually such that they had. Have you ever seen one of those? I don't know if you have this in Philippines, but have you ever seen one of those high water marks? Like when you're close to a bridge, there'll be like a marker, and it shows how high the water level is right now. Like so you can tell if it's going to be safe to cross the bridge or not, right? Like if it's just a little, you could drive your car over that. But if it's like a foot and it's flowing, then it could wash you off the bridge. You don't want to drive over the bridge, right? Well, they had one of those things in Egypt, and it was for taxation. And so the height that the water would get to in the Nile was used for taxation purposes to say you owe this much, based on how much land you have, right? So 20%, 30%, whatever, right? So the idea is you should be able to grow it. If you're not growing it when there's this much water, then it's your fault and Too bad, right? So much so that even this word, no problem, Ted, no problem at all. So much so that that the that this word for the river, right, in Hebrew, it refers to the Nile because of our experience in Egypt. Verse Dalet. ותאכלנה הפרות רעות המראה ודקות הבשר עת שבע הפרות יפות המראה והבריות. Well, that was a long clause. So this word you know, achal. Achal. And by the way, to the newcomers, you should click on follow presenter. You should see my screen. We're showing the text and we're annotating as we go along, okay? If the audio goes out, it means you accidentally clicked phone audio. You need to be on internet audio. Okay, so again, this is one of your new forms you just learned today. Imperfect third person plural, okay? So it's they, meaning ladies, will eat, right? Tochalna means they will eat, but we have our vav conversive that changed our time to be and they ate, right? Or okay, so and they ate. Which ones? Here's the subject. Haparot, the cows. Probably then is better. Then the cows ate. Okay, this is our noun, cows, and the adjective follows, ra'ot. Okay, the cows who were bad, hamar'eh, the appearance, v'dakot, and thin, habasar, of the flesh. 8, this is our definite direct object marker. So all of that was our subject. Let me just circle that with a different color. You can see we have a little highlight. Our subject was a real big one there. So it helps to be looking for your subject so you don't get too lost. So here's our verb, and they ate, right? Who's doing the eating? All of this. That's all the subject, those 5 words, right? Okay, that's the thing doing the eating. Here's our definite direct object marker. What do they eat? Sheva haparot, yefot hamar'eh, vehabriot. The 7 cows who were beautiful of appearance and fat. Vayikatz, this means to wake up. Then Pharaoh woke up. And something interesting about Pharaoh, this is really great. One thing that I love about the Bible is that it really is true to the times that it's discussing and the places it's discussing. Like if you read the book of Daniel, it starts out in Hebrew, and then to get everything right about what's happening over there in Persia, pardon me, over there in Babylonia area, it swaps to what? Aramaic. It swaps to Aramaic. And this is what the letter said, right? It's directly quoting from Aramaic. So the Hebrew scripture changes to the Aramaic scripture for some chapters then. And so similar thing happens when we're talking about Egypt. We get these words like Iyach up here, which is Ahu, right, in the biblical Hebrew. And we get like, even Pharaoh, this is from an Egyptian word. The Egyptian word, I'll just show you because I can't not talk about this. It's very interesting. Pen. Okay, it comes from this word in Egyptian. We have this word pur, and pur looks like this. If you look at hieroglyphs, you'll see this on monuments. If you ever go to Egypt, it's all over the place. Pur, maybe a little bit taller than I drew it. It's hard to get on the touch pad, on the trackpad. So pur means house. Pur in ancient Egyptian, pur. And then we have this other word. Well, I'll try to draw this way. We'll see. Put the best I can do on a trackpad. This is this word. Ah, ah. It's an aleph and an ayin. And this means great, like big. And so these two signs would be written next to each other. This one can be on top, this one bottom. They can be written right to left or left to right. If it's left to right, the bird looks this way. If it's the other way, the bird has to look the other way. Right? Egyptian can be written in any direction. And so that means the big house. The big house. And so it's really neat that Hebrew captures this. Instead of calling him just Melech Mitzrayim, king of Egypt, which does happen a couple times in Exodus, it calls him Per-ah, which is this Egyptian word. It gets garbled in Hebrew and becomes Pharaoh, right? But still we have the ayin. Like I said, this is an aleph and an ayin, right? We still have the ayin there, right? And we have the per, you can see. So the big house. This is kind of like in America, when the president makes a decision or has some policy, we'll say the White House has issued a statement, which means the president, right? The president. So the same thing was happening in Egypt. Our ancestors in Egypt, they referred to the king as the big house. All right. Verse Hey. Vaishan ve'achalom shenit. So he woke up, right? But then Yashan is to sleep. Like some of you probably know the psalm. It says, Lo Yishan ve'lo yanum shomer Yisrael. He does not slumber, he does not sleep, the one who keeps Israel. Right? So it's the same verb here. Yishan. So Yishan, imperfect, means he will sleep. The Vav changes the time and makes it, and he slept. And he slept. Vayachalom, and he dreamt. Shenit, a second time. Vehinehe sheva shiborim olot bekanei echad briot vetofot. Okay, and behold, 7 shibolim. It's like 7 corns. It's kind of how you do that in English. Maybe stalks of corn we want to say, but technically that would be kalmot shibolim. So 7 corns. Olot, again, this is from Allah, active participle, were coming up, bekaneh, on, this is a reed, echad, on a single reed, briot, a single fat reed, v'tovot, and good. Okay, now this is harder to recognize what's happening. Shibulim is an irregular word, right? It looks like it's masculine, because it's got im on the end, but really, the singular form is shibolet, and words that end in tav are usually feminine, right? So that's why the adjective is ot, see? It doesn't matter if the noun is irregular and thinks it's masculine in plural, you still have to treat it like it's feminine. Because we know in singular it's shibolet. So that's why it's tovot, briot, these feminine endings. They're all referring back, these adjectives, to shibolet, which became shibolim. Okay? And by the way, this is the word that you remember they're crossing the river, and the one guys, they can't say they can't pronounce it right. So they say shibolet, right? And if they can't say it, they know they're from the other tribe and they strike them down. Okay, any questions so far? I should have stayed on that page. How are we doing? We're about an hour into things. Good. We're doing all right. Questions, comments? All right, continue. Wow, we got a good turnout today. You Hebrew class, good job. You've been really making sure the minyan happens, huh? Funny, I have a cat that just managed to open the door. Hilarious. She really wants to be here. Hi, Ching Ching. She answered. Meow. I love that when animals talk back to you. You say something to them and they acknowledge. Meow. You know, cats don't usually meow to each other, right? That's only to people. They're trying to imitate our voices. But they don't have a proper diaphragm, so they can't control the airflow. They can't speak. Vav. That's verse 6. Vehine, I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit here to make sure I don't keep you too long. Vehine, sheva shibolim, dakot ushidafot kadim. Okay, and behold, 7 shibolim. And here I have the entry here, just so you can be reminded of that. Shibolet is a singular. It's feminine. Note that it's feminine. Dakot. Dak means thin. Think of a Bugs Bunny holding a carrot. What's up, Dak? Bugs Bunny is too thin. Dakot. So again, it's feminine ending here because the adjective has to agree. And even though this has this weird irregular ending, it still is feminine, okay? Still is feminine. Ushadufot. Okay, so shadaf means to scorch. To scorch. You haven't learned this. This is a passive call participle. I don't want to get into that right now. And scorched, it acts as an adjective. That's why it's ot. It has to agree with these guys. Kadim. Kadim is the east wind, or the eastern wind, right? The idea is that this was a hot wind that came from the deserts to the east, right, and would scorch things, right? Because to Egypt, you've got, to the east of Egypt, you have the Sinai, right? And if you've ever been to the Sinai, it's just a bunch of nothing, you know, for most of it. Just, like a God-forsaken wasteland, right? I'm talking about the Sinai Peninsula, that part that's between Egypt and Israel today, right? The part that we captured and we gave them back for peace. Right? So, Tzomachot achreihen. Okay, tzamach. This word means to sprout or to grow. Okay. And again, it's agreeing in gender because this is a participle. Participles, they agree that way. Gender number. Sprouting up, acher, acher, after hen. Again, I cannot stress enough, if you guys haven't learned your pronominal suffixes, goodness, you got to. You just got to. I don't see how you can really enjoy this if you haven't learned the pronominal suffixes. Maybe I'm wrong, but learn them, memorize them. You need to know them cold because look, they're all over the place. They're at the end of verbs, at the end of adjectives, at the end of nouns. They can be dative, like functioning ownership, expressing ownership, like in the Psalm. Sometimes it'll say yedehem, meaning to their hands, like towards their hands, given to their hands. It can be expressing ownership, like yadai, my hands, right? It's just all over the place. They're so useful, and if you just learn them once really well, it will serve you. So after them, verse Zion. V'tivla'ana hashibolim hadakot et sheva hashibolim habriot v'hameleot. Okay, there's our end of clause marker, our little wishbone, right there. Tells us that's the end of the thought, the end of the clause. So bala, this is actually an onomatopoetic word, and even though Israelis today do not pronounce the ayin usually, unless they're Yemenites, it's kind of sad that we've lost this consonantal sound. So originally it would have been like blah, oh, oh, oh. It's like a guttural stop in your throat, like blah, and it's onomatopoetic. It means to swallow. Blah, blah. It's like it sounds like when someone's swallowing if they're a sloppy eater. Okay, so that's what the word means, to swallow. And this is your new form, the second person plural imperfect, right? So tivla'na means they will swallow, and the vav conversive changes the time. Then they swallowed, or but they swallowed. Who's the subject? Hashibolim hadakot. So this together, this is our noun, and here's our adjective. What kind of shibolim? Hadakot. The thin corn ears, I guess was how I would say that. Swallowed, et, here's our definite direct object marker, pointing to what was swallowed. Sheva hashibolim, the 7 corn ears. Which ones? Habriot, the fat ones. So there's our adjective. There's our noun. V'hamaleot. So mala is to fill, right? To fill. And any of you who read the Siddur, right? You should certainly remember that Hashem malay chesed. He's full of loving kindness, right? He's full of grace, right? These qualities that we attribute to Hashem. So hamaleot, the ones that were full, they're fat and they're full, right? They're full. Vayikatz Paro v'hinei chalohom. Then Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. It's kind of nice they put in Pharaoh's perspective. He woke up, oh, it was a dream. Right? It even words it like from his perspective. You can see. Okay.
Excuse me, Jeremiah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I think your scripture reference should be Genesis 41, not 37.
Oh yeah. Thank you. You're right. You're right. Thank you for that. There's a block copy
Yeah, I was
error there.
wondering how come it.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yep. So the previous slide was correct. This one's not. And I think on the next one I don't even put this, which was safer for me. There we go. Boom. Thanks for calling that out, brother. Wrong reference. Yeah, we should be in chapter 41, verses 6 through 8. Yeah, 41. Okay. So, where are we? Verse 8. Vayhi vaboker v'tipayim rucho vayishlach v'kah et kol hachartumei Mitzrayim v'et kol chachamea. Okay. The word is chachamim, but it's got a suffix on there, so it's okay. Vayhi, and it came to pass, or it happened in the morning, right? And then here's our the morning. Vatipa'am. So this is an interesting word. Pa'am. What is going on with pa'am? So pa'am, in the kal or the pl, it means to stir or to trouble, right? Like to trouble water. This one is hard to recognize, but it's in the nifal. So there's a noon here. In ancient Hebrew, oh, that's a terrible noon. Let's just ignore that and start over. My left hand on the laptop trackpad. Okay, and I'm not left-handed, so noon. So it would have been teen pa'am in pre-biblical Hebrew. But by the time we got to the Bible, it had already been assimilated. That's what the dot tells you. So it became vatipa'am. Right? So it's nifal. We shared the menorah recently. The menorah, the nifal is the passive binyan. It's usually passive. Usually expresses that something's happening to the subject. So to be troubled by dreams and sleeplessness is hahalot defines the nifal meaning. And we have it here in Genesis 41:8, Psalm 77:5, and in Daniel 2 verse 3 you can find this form. So tipa'im would mean it was troubled, or he will be troubled, pardon me. It's imperfect, the form you learned today, right? But we have the vav, so the time swaps, making it into and he was troubled. So, and he was troubled. What was troubled? Rucho, his spirit. His spirit. Yeah, this is actually a feminine form. Yipa'im would be he was troubled. Tipa'im is she was troubled, and ruach is feminine. So his spirit was troubled. Vayishlach. So yishlach means it's imperfect, right? He will send, right? Or he is sending. The vav changes time. So he sent. Vayikra, same thing happened here, and he summoned. Kol chartumei Mitzrayim. And here we have a nice construct chain there. The chain is Kol Chartumei Mitzrayim. And sorry to Naomi, I'm using green instead of blue. So here's our absolute is Mitzrayim, and it's definite. So the whole chain has to be translated definite. So all of the Chartumei, and this is a funny word in Hebrew, Chartum. Chartum, it means something like engravers. Like literally means engravers, like those who are chipping away at stone, right? Engraving. It to me, when I read it, and I haven't seen this in a commentary anywhere, so I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it feels to me like it's a put down, it's a pejorative, right? Like the Bible's kind of making fun of them. This usually gets translated as magicians or wise men or something like that, right? You know, but really it means the engravers, right? And the idea was that in ancient Egypt, the people who knew how to read and write, because it's very difficult to read and write ancient Egyptian, right? It's difficult even today with all of our resources and books, and it takes a lot of time. It was the priestly class, right? The priestly class, the pagans, right? The pagan leadership. And so they were the ones, and where did they write stuff? In the stone. You can see it to this day. And so it seems like the Hebrew Bible, it gives a slight to them. It says the engravers of Egypt is literally what this is saying. So all those engravers of Egypt, that kol hachameha, and all of pronominal suffix, her, chachamim. Remember, you put it in the construct and you put the suffix on. All of her wise men.
Wise men.
That's right. Vaisaper, and he. So yisaper means he will relate, he will tell, right? Imperfect, like we learned today. Vav changes the time. But, and he told, who's the he? Pharaoh, and Pharaoh told, lahem, to them, he related to them, chalomo, his chalom, his dream. Ve'ein poter otam lefaro. Okay, Kitty, you need to move. You're blocking my screen. Yeah. But ain, this is a word you guys have. There were none. Poter. Patar means to interpret, right? Like if you've ever done any digging in the Dead Sea Scrolls, one of the scrolls has interpretations, right? And it's from this word. So poter is one who interprets. There was none who interpreted otam, them, pronominal suffix. This is just et plus the suffix becomes otam. Le for paro, for the big house. Nobody interpreted for the big house. And we're almost done with the Aliyah yomi part. Verse tet, not you tet, but the number tet, 9. Vaydaber sa hamashkim et paro lemor. Then, so yedaber means he will speak, right? Again, so then, sar hamashkim, literally the prince or the captain of the cupbearers, right? So then, like the chief butler, something like that, the chief butler spoke to Paro, Le'emor, saying, now here's his quotes, Et chata'ai ani maskir hayom. So chata'ai means my sins. Oh yeah, you're very good. Sins or errors, right? And uh, and it's interesting. He says et first. In Hebrew, when you have et before the verb, usually there's some emphasis happening here, right? So the guy is really being humble. Usually, he would have said something like zakarti, or hiskilti et chata'ai hayom, right? But instead, he puts it first, right? So he's saying, my sins I call to memory today, right? I cause to remember is really what's happening. This is a he fill form here with your yod marking it in the third root letter. Technically, it's a he fill active participle. Okay, so don't worry if you don't know what that is yet. You will. Chata'ai. Why does he say my sins? Why is it not just chata'i, my sin? Why is it plural? Well, it's plural. We're told by our sages, particularly Bechor Shor, my two offenses. One, for angering the king, and two, for forgetting the lad, the Na'ar, who asked me to remember him. Right? So he did two sins against two people. The guy who interpreted his dream for him, he forgot him. He forgot Yosef, right? And this is how people are. Yod, verse 10. Paro katsaf al avadaiv. He's saying Pharaoh became wrathful against his servants. And it's plural because it's he and the baker, right? Vaitenoti. And this is from Natan. The noon has assimilated into the tav. It's a pay noon verb. All verbs that start with noon, the noon likes to disappear and double
To
the
give.
next letter. Yes, exactly.
Dieting.
Exactly. So that's what's happening. So yiten means he will give. Oh, sorry, someone's microphone keeps coming on, guys. You gotta. It's hard for me to keep coming over and clicking mute. Yeah, okay. So vayiten means and he gave. Otim me. Okay, now gave can mean more like set, right, or place. We find this usually in Leviticus. The verb natan usually is used in the cultic literature, like to place the offering over there, right, to set it before Hashem, that kind of stuff, right? So you might have learned natan just as give, but it also means to set or to place. So, and he placed me bemishmar beit sar chatabachim. And he placed me into the custody. Shamar being kept. So here we have this mem that's from Shamar. It's like the 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 notion of being kept, right? The custody of beit sar chatabachim. Now look at this. We have a lot of constructs happening here. This is a huge construct chain. So for those of you who've been keeping track of the construct chains, check it out. Let's see if I can draw. Okay, it doesn't want to draw yet. Maybe now. Yeah. All of this. These are all part of one big construct chain. Okay? So construct, absolute. And the absolute has what? Ha, the. So we know it's definite. Because it's definite, what happens to our chain? Every word in the chain is rendered as definite, right? This is how it happens in Tanakh. You have to do it this way. So this one. And this one. And this one. So we have to say into the custody of the house of the captain of the officers or bodyguards. Just the words kind of in this. There's some challenges to the meaning of this word. It can mean a lot of things in context, right? It can be the executioners even, right? Oti, me, ve'etzar ha'ofi, me and we have another construct here. I won't bulu it, but for interest of time, the captain of the bakers. Verse Yod Aleph. V'nachal ma chalom b'layla echad ani vahu. So, nachalem would mean, this is your new form from today, imperfect first person common plural. We will dream, okay? And then it gets funky. We have a hey at the end. So this is something you haven't learned yet, but I talk about it in the Aliyah yomi sometimes. So the hey at the end, this puts it in what's called grammatically the cohortative. You can just think of it like an upside down exclamation point in Espanol. Right? You know, Espanol, in Spanish, you sometimes have this little exclamation point. He's upside down. And so he's telling the reader to read with more excitement in the sentence at that point, right? It means the same thing in Hebrew, the hey. That's what it's doing, the cohortative form, okay? So, nachalma means we will dream, right? Like you're excited about it, right? And then what happens? So that's we will dream, but then being language detectives, we search a little bit more, and something else is happening. we have the vav over here. The vav consecutive. I hope this purple can be seen. Yeah. Vav consecutive. Changing the time to the opposite. So nachalma, we will dream, becomes and we dreamt. Past tense. And we dreamt a chalom, a dream. When? Balayla, in the night. Echad, in one night. Ani, I, vahu, and him. Ish kefitron, chalomo, chalamnu. So each one, or literally a man, kaf. What's kaf mean? You know kaf. It's the inseparable preposition, according to, or like, as or like. Fitron, this is related to that word I pointed out to you before. It said there was ein foter on the previous page. There was nobody to foter, to interpret. So this is a noun, a pitron. Oftentimes you put a noon at the end in making a noun, abstract noun like this, is an interpretation. So each one, each, a man, literally, but this can mean each in Hebrew, according to interpretation, chalomo. Check it out. It's another construct chain. Whoa. Wawawiwa, as my old Ukrainian friend would say, Jewish Ukrainian friend. Ilya. Ilya means Elijah in Russian. Ilya Bunevich. Shout out to you if you ever see this somewhere. Chalomo. So the O means his, chalom, his dream. Okay? So this is what? It's definite, right? This word is definite. It's not anybody's dream, it's his dream. So each one according to his dream. Or literally as the interpretation of his dream, right? So there is still the over here. We still have that. The construct chain is being influenced by the one that's in the absolute. I'm sorry, some people are having trouble getting in. I don't know what's happening with that. I don't know if it's their internet issue or something. GoToMeeting allows us 100 people with the setup we have right now. So we're licensed for 100 right now. And we can up that if we need to. All right. Chalamnu. We dreamt. So here, nachalom is we will dream, but the vav makes it we dreamt. And here it's in the normal perfect. This is the one you already had memorized before today. Chalam nu. But look, if you just know your pronominal suffixes, even if you were lazy and did not memorize the perfect form of the verb, you can figure it out. Look at that. You can figure it out. It's like a cheat sheet, knowing the pronominal suffixes. Chalam, you know it means dreamt. And then nu. We're the ones who dreamed it. Okay.
We dream.
We dreamed, exactly. We dreamed. We dreamt, we dreamed, something like this. Okay, verse Yod Beit. Vesham itanu nar ivri eved v'sar hatabachim v'nesaper lo v'tar lanu et chalomotenu. Oops. I used to be the Baal Koreh, the Torah reader, but it's just been so many years that that sometimes I get stuck up. You're trying to read these musical notes, and then you might mispronounce the word, right? So, okay, Vesham itano. And there, with nu, again, your pronominal suffix, saving the day, you know the word it means with us, and in English, to make it make sense, we have to say was. There was a na'ar ivri. Here's our noun, na'ar, and here's our
A lad,
adjective.
a young man.
Close. You're close. You're right. Na'ar is a young man. Exactly. That's a lad. What kind?
Hebrew young man.
Yes, good. A Hebrew young man. Exactly. Eved, a servant, Lissar
Servant.
Hatabachim. Now I want to show you guys
Yeah.
something that's happening here. This should be interesting. So we have a construct chain, but we're saying he's a servant, not the servant. And I've mentioned this briefly before, how you do this in the Tanakh. So look, Sar. It didn't unclick. Sar hatabachim, this is a construct situation here, right? Sar hatabachim, right? The chief of the bodyguards, or the chief of the executioners, or whatever that word means, you know. So hatabachim is definite, so it makes the phrase definite, right? But we didn't want to say that he's the servant of the chief of the bodyguards, or the servant of the chief of the executioners. Again, there's different meanings for that word. We're not really sure which one this was. So what happens is, this is how you express it in Hebrew. If the guy has many servants, and you just want to say this is one of them, we use lamed. So a servant to the chief of the bodyguards, you see, or the executioners. That's how you do it, use lamed. If there was no lamed here, and it was construct eved, then it would be the servant of the chief of the bodyguards, because this guy, it would all be part of the same construct chain. So you have to use lamed if you want to say in a chain like that where the last word is definite. Okay. V'nisaper lo v'yiftar lanu et chalamotenu. So nisaper means we will relate, we will tell. The vav changed the time, and we told lo to him. Vayiftar. So yiftar, again, it's he will interpret. The vav changes the time, and he interpreted lanu for us. What did he interpret? Et chalamotenu, our chalamot. Chalamot means dreams, and then your pronominal suffix to the rescue, our dreams. Ish, so literally that means man, but this is one way that Hebrew expresses each. Each one, kachalomo, according to, kaf, or like chalomo, his chalom, his dream, patar, he interpreted. Okay, any questions on that? Any comments? Here is the last.
Perfect.
Oh yes, go ahead. You had a question? Okay, so here is the last two verses of the first Aliyah of Torah portion, pareshat, Miqeyts, Yod Gimel, that's 10 plus 3, 13. Vayhi kasher patar lanu ken haya. Okay, so Yehi means it will be, Vayhi means and it was, or it came to pass. And it came to pass, ka'asher, according to how, patar, he interpreted lanu, for us. Came, such, haya, it was. Oti with me, Heshiv al kani, ve'oti tala. With me, Heshiv. This is hard to recognize. It's a hollow verb. It's from shuv, right? Shuv Yisrael, right? Or teshuvah, right? Like to make teshuvah. Shuv is to return. But this is the hifil binyan. You can see by the hey here, right? So it means causative. So cause to return means
Keep
to return, right? To bring back, to reinstall, right? So me, now he's doing special emphasis again. Look, it's becoming before the verb. Me, Heshiv al kani, he returned to my post. This word, it doesn't show up very often in the Bible, just these two places in Genesis. It's Cain. It's from this kun word, which means to establish or to make a foundation or something like that. Sorry, the talking in the background throws me off, guys. So please be careful with your microphones. If there's a TV on or radio or something like that, it really throws my what's going on in my mind. So al kani, to my Cain. Not to be confused with Cain meaning with this Cain. See, they look the same. This is a Cain, and this is Cain number 4 in the halot entries. Okay? Position, rank, or place. Right? Related to Arabic makan, which is a place. The oto, and him, tala, he hanged. Verse Yod Dalet. Vaishlach Paro v'ka et Yosef vayirutzuhu min ha'be'or. Okay. Yishlach, this is imperfect. We just learned today that you have to have in your homework to memorize. Yishlach, he will send, or he's sending. And then the vav changes the time. So, Paro sent, Vayikra, and he summoned Yosef. Varitzuhu. Okay, this is hard to recognize. It's another hollow verb. Just like shuv, this is roots, is the root. Roots. So, resh, vav, Sari, roots is to run, right? Like to run the race, like Rav Shaul talks about. The one who nikonti, who shall be victorious, is the one who completes the race, right? Or like Yeshua Mashiach says in the book of Revelations, that the one who is successful, the one who completes, shall be given a white stone with new name and all that nice stuff. Okay, so vayirutzu. So roots is he ran. Rutzu is they ran. They ran. So they ran. Who? They ran him. They ran him. Like they hurried him. They hurried him up. Min habeor, from the pit, meaning the jail that he's in. Vagalach, vachalef, simlotahav, vayavo el paro. So galach is to shave. Yiglach, he will shave. Vayiglach, and he was shaved. Vaychalef, and he was changed. What was changed? Simlotav. Simla means clothing or garment, so simlot is the plural. His garments. Vayavo, and he was brought el unto Paro, and that's the end of the first Aliyah. So, any comments or questions? We're almost to our end time here. Okay, it's nice you guys are drumming up a lot of interest. Again, everyone is welcome as long as you know them, a member of the Kahal, because this is originally for our Kahal. So if you know someone personally and you can vouch for them, you can invite them in as long as they have studied Hebrew. All right? This is not the class for beginning, right? That's something else that's probably going to be set up tomorrow, it looks like. This is the intermediate class. This is lesson 24 we're on today, okay? So with one lesson per week, yeah? Okay, great. So everybody's welcome. Beginners,
Rabbi, excuse me.
yes,
Rabbi, excuse me.
go.
Sir, what's the root word of ranhim before the ranhim? Resh, Vav, Sadik.
Yes. Vav
It's
Tzadi.
a
Yep,
root.
that's supposed to be a Vav there. Yeah, sorry, the sloppy handwriting. It's really hard with a left
Okay,
hand if you're
thank you.
right-handed. You
Thank you.
end up doing it that way. Yeah, Resh, Vav, Tzadi. Roots. Like
Thanks,
an
sir.
Israeli might say, Slicha, ani tzarich larutz. Excuse me, I gotta run. Sorry, I gotta larutz, to run. Yep. Okay. Good.
So how come it was changed to Yod, sir? How come it was changed? Is it really Vav or Yod? How, is it hip form what, sir?
Yeah, this is an advanced rule with what's called hollow verbs. Look, the same thing happens over here with shuv, right? Shuv became shiv, right? So what happens with hollow verbs? A hollow verb is a verb that has a vav as the second radical, the second root letter, and vav in ancient times was not called vav. It was wow, w. Just like in Arabic today, they still have a wow, like this, and it's a w sound in Ugaritic, in Aramaic, in
Oh,
Akkadian, and all these Semitic languages, there was a w. It's because of European influence that it became pronounced today as a v. And we just, we try to stick with the Israeli pronunciation on things, the Sephardic pronunciation. But it was w, a w sound. And a w is almost like a vowel. If for those of you who remember your English grammar, the really good English teachers, they say the vowels are A, E, I, O, U, sometimes Y, and sometimes W, because W is weird and it can function like a vowel sometimes. And so with Hebrew, what happens is the w, the reason we write the vav for O and U, you think about your lips, what happens? You make a circle with your lips, O. You make a circle, ooh, right? Your lips are puckering. And then whoop, it's the same thing, whoop. That's why it's absolutely crazy nonsense when guys like that supposed Karaite, what's his name? Nehemiah Gordon claims that he knows God's name, and he claims it's Yeho, and the second part he says is Va. There's no way it's a Va because there's a Vav here, which in ancient times was a W. You see, so it's just impossible. It's trying to apply modern pronunciation without knowledge of how the language worked in the Bible and trying to inject a modern pronunciation back into the Tanakh. Right? So a wa would sometimes disappear because it's a very light vowel. You see, it's not a strong consonant. W, w, so it would go away. And that's what happens. Or sometimes it would even become a yod, right? Because this was just, for pronunciation reasons, that was easier for the speakers to say it that way. Does that make sense?
yes, sir. Thank you so
Sure,
much.
sure. It's a great question. It's an advanced topic we haven't really hit yet. So, but that's what. And feel free to ask anything, even if we haven't covered it yet, guys. Any other questions? Grammar questions or something I shared with you from Chazal? By the way, everybody's welcome. So even if you're a beginner, you can be in our class, right? You can observe, right? You're welcome to come in and observe as long as someone vouches for you in the class. Yeah. So we can do like that. All right.